All right, so now we're going to do writing equations of line given a point and a slope, so it's a little bit different. The first thing I want you to do is the slope-intercept form, which is what we just talked about. I want you to write the equation for slope-intercept form. Go ahead and pause and do that now. Okay, so slope-intercept form would be y equals mx plus b. That's the equation that we do most of our stuff from. But we're actually going to use point-slope form a little bit today too. So point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, now the m is still slope. And then we're going to have a y1 and x1. This is the point that you're given. Okay, this is the point that the line goes through. Sometimes you're going to be asked to leave it in that form, and sometimes you're going to be asked to go ahead and solve for y. So pay very close attention to the directions. Okay, so if you notice this graph right here on number 1, I don't give you a nice friendly y-intercept. If I follow this y-axis, there's not really a point through a whole number that's pretty. So you're not always going to be given that y-intercept, but you're given 2 points on the graph. Well, if I'm given 2 points on the graph, we can go ahead and find slope. And then we can choose a point that's on the line. So my slope, I'm going to count from one point to the next. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I go over 1, 2. So my slope, rise over run. And then I'm going to simplify it. 4 divided by 2 simplifies nicely to 2. And then my point, I can choose either point. We have this point down here that is at -3, 1, 2, 3, and then up 1, 2, 3. Or you could use this point, which is -1, and then up 7. It does not matter which point you use. You will get the exact same answer in the end. So I'm going to use, let's do -3, 3. So your point, we're going to label x1, y1, and our slope is m. So I'm going to plug it into point-slope form. So we have y minus, my y1 is 3, equals m is 2, times x minus my x1. Minus minus, we can bam bam. So we have y minus 3 equals 2 times x plus 3. If we were asked to leave it in point-slope form, this would be your answer. Sometimes you're going to be asked to solve, though, to solve for slope-intercept form. So we would distribute, just like we have been doing, and then we would add 3 to both sides. And that would be your answer, okay, in y slope-intercept form. Now, you could have still used our old method. I'm going to put that in a different color here so you can see it. So our slope is 2, and then we have the point, which is our x and y. So I could plug it into y equals mx plus b. Notice we're missing our b value. So my y is 3, my m is 2, my x is -3, and I have to solve down for b. So I have 3 equals -6 plus b. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So now I have my b value and I have my slope. So you could plug that now into slope-intercept form and you get the exact same equation. I prefer to use point-slope form. If anyone's taking pre-cal, you'll be using point-slope form a lot more, but either method will work. Let's try another one. So on number 2, we have 2 points given again. So let's go ahead and find our slope. So you go ahead and pause the video, find your slope. All right, so our slope, we count rise over run. So down 1, 2, over 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have -2 over 4. Simplify that. 2 goes into top and bottom. -2 divided by 2 would be 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we have -1/2 for our slope. Now let's figure out our points. So this point right here, we went over 1, 2, and we went up 1, 2, 3. Or you could use this one down here, which is over 6 up 1. Does not matter which point you use. Just so it's consistent, let's go ahead and use 2, 3. Okay, always label, label, label. So here's my M, here's my X1, here's my Y1. Go ahead and plug that into point slope form for me. All right, so point slope form, we have Y minus Y1 equals M times X minus X1. So Y minus my Y1 is 3. My M we found to be -1/2. My X is, it stays X. My X1 is 2. So here's your point slope form. Now we're going to go ahead and practice solving. Okay, so we're going to solve down for Y just to practice. Make sure we understand that. So I'm going to distribute 1/2 first. So Y minus 3 equals -1/2 X. Now, if you're bad with multiplying fractions, it's okay. You can always go to Desmos and use the calculator. You can use your calculator if you have one. But essentially, you multiply 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we have half of 2 is 1. Negative times a negative is a positive. Then I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So we have Y equals -1/2 X plus 4. And there's your equation. All right, let's try a couple more. All right, so now we're going to do point slope form and slope intercept form. So write an equation of a line given the slope is 7. As soon as I see slope is 7, I'm going to label that my M. And that goes through the point 3, -4. So I see that, and I'm going to label my point X1, Y1. Okay. So then I'm going to plug it into point slope form. So we have Y minus my Y1 is -4 equals 7 times X minus 3. That's my X1. So my point slope form we just found. I can bam bam this guy. So my point slope form is Y plus 4 equals 7 times X minus 3. Then we can find our slope intercept form by solving down. I'm going to distribute my 7. So we have 7x minus 7 times 3 would be 21. Then I'm going to subtract 4 from each side. Watch those negatives. So we get 7x minus 25. So there's your point slope form. And there's your slope intercept form. Okay, so both answers. Let's try the next one. All right, so write an equation of a line given the slope is 1/4. So what do we label that? We label that M. It goes through the point -8, 3. So we label that X1, Y1. Go ahead and plug that into point slope form for me. All right, so you should have plugged into point slope form. We have Y minus my Y1 is 3 equals 1/4 times X minus my X1 is -8. Don't forget to bam bam that to simplify it. So your point slope form that you got should have been Y minus 3 equals 1/4 times X plus 8. All right, and then we're going to solve down. I'll help you with the fraction. Let's walk through that. So we're going to distribute that 1/4. So we have Y minus 3 equals 1/4 X. That one's not too bad. And then we have 1/4 of 8. Okay, so 1 times 8 is 8. That 8's technically over 1, so 4 times 1 is 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Remember, we always want our slope written as a fraction. So this would be your slope intercept form. Y equals 1/4 X plus 5. Okay, let's try the last one. Write an equation of a line given the slope is 3/2. So what do? We label that M. Goes through the point 6, X1, 1, Y1. So my point slope form, we're going to plug it in. Y minus my Y1 is 1. My M is 3/2 times X minus my X1 is 6. There's your point slope form. So I'm going to bring that over here. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and solve for y. So get slope-intercept form. All right, so slope-intercept form, you should have distributed your 3 halves. So y minus 1 equals 3 halves x. The 6 is technically over 1. 3 times 6 would be 18. 2 times 1 is 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So I have minus 9. Add 1 to both sides, and we get y equals 3 halves x minus 8. And that is writing equations given a point.